Alrighty, so today we are going to talk about CONCACAF Champions Cup matchup involving MLS team as we saw the draw a couple of days ago officially released. And then yesterday we also saw the schedule of the CONCACAF Champions Cup matchup, both in the round of 16 and also in the first round as well. I'm kind of surprised they released the round of 16 schedule relatively early because I would have assumed they would actually wait until the first round is over before releasing the round of 16 matchup. But nevertheless, the schedule and the draw has been released. And also, let me pull up my phone real quick because I want to also talk about in terms of how the bracket itself. Obviously, we are going to talk about the matchup every MLS team is involving against their CONCACAF Champions Cup opponent. But majority of this video is going to talk about the bracket itself because that's kind of where we can see the path of each of these MLS team. And some of them, of course, will have an easier path than others in terms of getting to the final, and we'll definitely break down to. And I'll also do a follow-up video as I always do whenever the CONCACAF Champions Cup draw in the bracket is released, talk about which team is more likely going to be the next MLS team joining the Seattle Sounders as the team that will conquer the CONCACAF Champions Cup mountain. And it's also important to note that, when you look at the last couple of years, we always seem to see an MLS team make it to the final. There could be a case that it could happen again this year as well. Now, that being said, in terms of round number one, we see 8 teams that involved in round number one, starting off with Pumas versus San Diego. Then you got LA Galaxy versus Sporting SM, which is a team that, if I actually look here in terms of the match, I can see the country. It's a Panamanian team that the LA Galaxy is going to be facing. LAFC, of course, then will face Real Español. So we got two LA team in the CONCACAF Champions Cup this year. And of course, I have to look at in terms of which country some of these teams are because some of these countries or some of these teams, I'm not very familiar when it comes to the country that they are. But there are some teams that I definitely recognize. Real España is definitely one of those teams. They're a returning team in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and that they're based out of Honduras. Then you, of course, got Nashville SC versus Atletico Ottawa. What's interesting is that the first matchup between Nashville and Atletico Ottawa is not going to take place in Ottawa. It's actually going to be taking place in Hamilton. Apparently, they're doing some renovation in the Ottawa Stadium. So yeah, as much as we really wish that there was going to be another snowball, just like how the defending CPL champion did in what is something that really kind of blow up the internet in terms of that final being played in the snow. I don't know if we're gonna get that in Hamilton. I mean, we still might get a chance to do so, but that should be very interesting to see. And then, of course, the Philadelphia Union, they're going to be playing against a team called Defense Force. Honestly, that is probably the most awesome name I've seen so far an MLS team face against their opposition. I mean, there's always some really awesome name out there, not only in Central America, but especially in these Caribbean region. I mean, some of these teams, honestly, these names are just absolutely awesome, and Defense Force is definitely one of them. They're actually a Trinidad and Tobago team, as I looked up. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting for the Union going to the Caribbean, and I think this is the first time I've seen a team gone to the Trinidad and Tobago that is an MLS team that shows. I've seen MLS team, of course, going to the Caribbean, but I don't think they've got to the Trinidad Tobago to face their opposition. Then, of course, we got FC Cincinnati. They're playing this team called O&M FC. This is a team based out of the Dominican Republic. And then the Vancouver Whitecaps are going to play this team called CS Cartagena. This is a Costa Rica team as well. It's kind of interesting that of all the Costa Rican teams that I've heard before, this is one of the newer ones. I mean, I've always heard the in terms of the Costa Rican team, the likes of Alajuelense, Prisa, and even Heredano as well. I believe, actually, if I look at the bracket, I don't think Saprissa is actually in this. I know Alajuelense is in this competition, but Saprissa is not in it this year, which is kind of a shocker because it feels like every single year they're always in this competition. But anyway, in terms of the round of 16, so these are teams that get, of course, first round bye. That we have two MLS teams that, of course, get the first round bye, and both of these teams obviously getting in the first round bye because one of them won MLS Cup and the other won the Leagues Cup. That is, so the MLS Cup winner, Inter Miami, gets the first round bye. They get to face the winner of Nashville SC and Atletico Ottawa. And I know I don't want to jump ahead of the gun, and I don't want to really disrespect the Canadian Premier League itself, but I have a feeling it's probably going to be Inter Miami versus Nashville. Honestly, it feels like there's been so many Inter Miami versus Nashville. I mean, I feel like this is started to become a bigger rivalry than well, actually, I shouldn't say a bigger rivalry, but I would say almost around the same level as Inter Miami versus Orlando City. I don't think I ever will say that Inter Miami and Orlando would be a big uh would be a less known rivalry or less intense rivalry than what we see with Miami and Nashville. But with the way that both of these teams have faced off against each other so many times, including the playoffs last year, and didn't they face against each other in the CONCACAF Champions Cup last year as well? I mean, it feels like it's Groundhog days for both of these teams, especially if you're a Nashville fan. I mean, I know that you're happy to see your team face against Messi again, but I'm pretty sure at the same time they're not happy seeing their team face Messi again because he basically owns Nashville in these last couple of matches. I mean, the stats number that he has against Nashville is just absolutely incredible. So yeah, I'm pretty sure Nashville fans are probably a little bit disgusted the fact that yeah of the promise that they had coming into the CONCACAF Champions Cup, maybe make a deep run, and oh, now we get to have to face against one of our landlord Lord for the past couple of years. Now, the Seattle Sounders, of course, won the Leagues Cup, getting the first round bye. They get to play the winner of the Vancouver Whitecaps or CS Cardenales. Now, again, no disrespect to CS Cardenales, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be the Vancouver Whitecaps that's going to be moving on into this one. And we talked about Inter Miami facing against Nashville seems like a very interesting matchup. This equally is even more interesting because this is a Cascadia matchup. When's the last time we have a Cascadia kind of matchup in the CONCACAF Champions Cup? I mean, I don't recall we ever had the Seattle Sounders face against the Portland Timbers in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Although if that does happen one day, man, what an awesome matchup that would have been. We all know about the hatred between both of those teams, but for the most part, Vancouver, we know that they've always been kind of like the third wheel of the Cascadia Derby, but with them being really now probably the best Cascadia team out of those three with what they have recently done, now all of a sudden this forgotten rivalry between Seattle and Vancouver, and even Portland against Vancouver in some extent, is starting to reignite again. This should be a very interesting battle between these two Cascadia teams once we get there, but yeah. Again, no disrespect to CS Cardenas, but I have a feeling Vancouver is gonna beat them relatively easily and move on into the next round. I mean, if Vancouver can easily dispatch Sabrisa like they did last year, and I say easy, it wasn't easy last year. This one might be a much easier task consider the team that Jasper Sorensen has. I have a feeling they should be able to get past this test, and then they get to face against their Cascadia rival in the round of 16. Now, look at the bracket itself, because again, this is kind of what we really want to talk about. Now, obviously, when I look at the bracket instantly, I'm gonna actually just kind of look at it from my phone. So we start on the left side of the bracket. So first of all, starting to talk about Pumas and San Diego. San Diego has a really tough road to the CONCACAF Champions Cup final. In fact, I think they probably have the toughest road because even if they beat Pumas in this first round, I believe they're the only MLS team to face against a Liga MX side. We always see this happen every single year when an MLS team have to face against a Liga MX side in the first round, and unfortunately, San Diego is the unlucky duck in terms of this one. Have to face the might of Pumas, who hasn't really done that well in Liga MX, at least in the Aperture season that is. So yeah, there could be a chance that San Diego could do something. Again, the thing I will say about San Diego is the fact that it's going to be very interesting to see how they're going to look in the second season. And after all the expectation exceeded in the first season and set a huge benchmark, it's going to be interesting to see whether they don't fall into that sophomore slump that we saw St. Louis did in after their incredible first season, or the fact that they'll continue to improve and get themselves back to where they were in the first season. But yeah, even then, if they beat Pumas, they have to face against Toluca. Yeah, Toluca is not an easy task whatsoever. They're one of the toughest teams to beat in Liga MX right now. So yeah, that's not going to be easy for San Diego to move on. And likewise, after that, you also look at the LA Galaxy. The LA Galaxy does have a little easier path because after that they play this team called Mount Pleasant, which again I think this is a Caribbean team. Like it with the way that the name it sounds like a Caribbean team. Yeah, it is. It's actually a team based out of Jamaica. So there's a chance that the Galaxy could actually do something, and especially with the way that the Galaxy is going to get the three killer P's back together heading into next year. There's no doubt that I've already said that this is definitely most likely the team that missed out on the playoffs last season that is most likely going to make it next year, and that they're going to definitely do much better, at least in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and there could be a chance that they can actually get into the quarterfinal because the matchup that they face, you would assume the Galaxy should be able to win those matchup. Then we look at the bottom part of the bracket. We skip forward to LAFC versus Real Español. Now LAFC, their pathway is a little interesting as well because after that they have to face against Alajuelense. This team actually have done pretty well against Alajuelense, despite the fact that Alajuelense has been kind of the other powerhouse in Costa Rican soccer. MLS team have definitely done well against them, and especially it's not the first time that LAFC could face against Alajuelense. Last time when LAFC faced against Alajuelense, especially when that game was in Costa Rica, they beat them 3-0 in that game. So yeah, there could be a case where LAFC not only get a pretty good path, but they might not have to face against a Liga MX team until the quarterfinal. Now, the Liga MX team they might have to face is Cruz Azul or Rayados. Those are really good Liga MX team as well. But we'll get to that for them in terms of their path, and then after that, they have to potentially face the like of Toluca, or, and this is a big or. There could be a case where this could line up in the semifinal. We might see an El Trafico matchup. If both LA team does make it out of the respective region, they're thinking El Trafico in semifinal. How awesome that would be to see an El Trafico in semifinal. We know how heated and how crazy El Trafico game is. Now imagine we see it in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and now imagine we see it twice in a short amount of period. That's going to be a very spicy matchup. Probably the most spiciest El Trafico we have seen in recent memory as well. Now, looking at the right side of the bracket. So, as I mentioned before, Nashville, of course, playing against Atletico Ottawa. If they do win that one, which most likely they will, they have to face against their landlord known as Inter Miami. Now, Inter Miami, in terms of their road to the final, I know there's a lot of people kind of complain about Inter Miami and how easy their road to the final was, especially last year as well. This year is a little bit more trickier. I do think that they continue their dominance over Nashville, that is. But then after that, they might have to face the likes of Club America or the Philadelphia Union. Now, the Union, I think they could definitely beat the Union, especially with the way that it feels like the Union not only is kind of going through once again a transitional period, but kind of a surprising transitional period. They're actually selling a couple of some of their best player with the recent announcement that they might even sell off their best defender Jacob Lesnes this off season to the LA Galaxy, and we'll talk more about that in the News of the Week episode. But Club America is definitely going to be a challenge as well, and I feel like that game is gonna be a game that I'm pretty sure everybody's gonna root for the media in that game. I mean, not only MLS fans but Liga MX fans. We're probably gonna be rooting for the media in that one because anytime we have Inter Miami face against Club America, that's kind of the ultimate uh the big boss battle between both of these teams. Both of these teams are very hated. Both of these teams like to spend a lot of money. So yeah, again, that would be a gigantic matchup to see if it does get to that stage. But then after that, when you look at the bottom part of the bracket, so for FC Cincinnati, even if they do beat their Dominican Republic team, they get a really tough task in the next game. They have to face against Tigres potentially. In fact, they're probably going to be facing Tigres because Tigres probably will get the better of Forget see in the first round. And Tigres, I know they're not as bad and scary as they used to be, but let's be honest, it's still Tigres. Tigres is Tigres. They are a team that always cause pain and suffering for a lot of MLS teams. So yeah, that for Cincinnati, they really want to make a good run in this competition. They've been in this competition a couple of times, but they always stall out when they face against those giant like Liga MX. And especially, if FC Cincinnati is gonna face Tigres again, didn't they play against each other last year as well? Yeah, so that's going to be a very interesting rematch. And I remember that was a matchup where, since they actually, when they went down to Mexico, they actually played well for 45 minutes. But then, yeah, when they do can see next when, Tigres starts to show their might. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure Cincinnati fans don't want a reminder in terms of that memory. And then, of course, looking at the bottom part of the bracket, you got the Whitecaps and the Sounders. That's kind of interesting matchup. I mean, both the Whitecaps and the Sounders, I wouldn't say they had an easy draw themselves because they have to face against each other, and that should be a very interesting matchup itself. But then after that, they get to potentially play against either the strongest team out there is probably Cincinnati and Tigres. Those are two really good team, but I do think that both of these could potentially be teams that both Seattle and Vancouver can do, especially Vancouver itself. We already seen Vancouver what they can do when they face against Liga MX's team last season. I mean, they were they were definitely the story of the CONCACAF Champions Cup last year with them knocking out Liga MX's opponent like it's nobody's business, and especially the fashion they did it against those Liga MX's opponent, absolutely breaking the hearts of those Liga MX teams, scoring late goals to crush them. I mean, that's something we usually never see MLS team does against Liga MX opponents. It's usually the other way around, where Liga MX team are the one that is breaking the hearts and create the classic term of free space is disappointment when it comes to MLS team in this competition. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of video looking at this matchup and also go over the bracket itself. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these matchups? Of course, I'll probably do a follow-up video a little bit later on in terms of talk about which team has the easiest path heading into the final and more likely to win the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and which one probably has no shots whatsoever heading into this CONCACAF Champions Cup to make it get into the final, even lifting the trophy. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.